Patrick stated, everybody, I got my green Ailstorm shirt on here, and today we're going to be playing one of the last couple games of 1998 for the N64, and we're on South Park, the first South Park game, one of the first of three, basically it's like three South Park games, when Acclaim is trying to cash in on this license that they have, and then nothing for a long time, and then we get Stick of Truth, which is a really good game. Basically what you have here is you have a first-person shooter that published by Acclaim and made by Iguana, and basically, if you couldn't tell from the control type, it's laid over the Turok engine, and made out of the Turok engine. Put out in time for the 1998 holiday, just barely it seems, because it came out in like December. Came out on the N64 first and then got ported to the PS1 with an awful, awful port of what people seem to think is not a very good game. I don't think it's terrible so far from what I've played of it, because I actually have played a little bit of it so far. We're going to jump into, I think, like the third mission. But, yeah, just a little funny thing. I like that the control types are Toe Rock and Brown Eye, as reference to GoldenEye. So, being that this is an Acclaim shooter and it's based on Turok, I would definitely prefer the Turok theme, the Turok control scheme anyway. Not to mention that I think that basically you can do the same thing in GoldenEye, and that's what I do anyway. And so basically this game is divided into 5 episodes, from my understanding of both the Nintendo Power that covers it, which I have right here, and I actually have a small, it's like a pocket-sized guide, but it's like 150 pages, from N64 Pro, which is a British magazine. I ordered, one of the only times I've ever found like a good lot of N64 books guides on eBay. It was basically a bunch of these little ones from N64 Pro, but I really like having them. There were cheat books that came out with it. There was this one, and then there's a couple other double guides. This is really, really cool. I have a legit guide for South Park to take me through with screenshots, although it's all in black and white because it was probably made on the cheap. This sold for $9.99 in British pounds. So it's not like it was expensive anyway. Although I think that's probably what guides cost, like players' guides cost, be about $12 US. But anyway, basically all I've fought really so far is I also have the manual for the game because I have this printed case with a manual. So let's just jump right into it. I'm Kyle. You get to pick at the beginning. Oh, cool. We get a third weapon here. Oh, and I'm switching to Stan too, I guess. Okay. So I have.
I'm gonna show you how to kick ass. Let me at him.
Okay. So, I guess you swap around everybody. You get to start at the beginning of the game. You pick one character, and then in the first mission, which is like 2 minutes long, you go and you find all the other kids. But really, you don't get different abilities or anything like that. They all play the same. They just say different shit. Which, since it's an N64 cartridge, you can imagine, they don't really say too much. And Chef is here. Chef is kind of like your...
If you were a superior marksman like me, maybe you wouldn't have a problem. Shut up, fat ass.
Children, you need to focus on the problem at hand.
Chef got a lady.
Found out those turkeys are nesting in a cave complex formed by the volcano when it erupted. If you children don't take care of those turkeys, that could be the end of us all. Are you up for it?
Yeah, Chef is kind of your your M from GoldenEye. He gives you your briefings and stuff. The thing that kind of prevails in this game, so, like I said, all I've really done is fight fucking turkeys, which is fine. This is not the best weapon to start this with, because the turkeys go down in one shot from the snowballs. Oh, this is also, oh cool, I can pick up the toilet plunger ammo, though, that's nice. I will do that, so I don't have just wasted all that. Oh, then there's a tank. Alright, now... Son of a bitch. Cool. So basically, you have two kinds of enemy. My understanding is that there's actually two kinds of enemy for all the different enemy types throughout the game. There's regular minion ones, which are the little turkeys that go down in one snowball hit, and then there's the tanks, which is that big motherfucker that you saw. You can kind of imagine what a tank does. He's harder to bring down. He spawns them, and I guess when we get to the point of the game where we're going to be like supposed to protect buildings because we're supposed to save the town, and if you destroy buildings, then you haven't saved the town. Oh wow, this looks just like fucking Turok caves. Fuck you. It's kind of funny. It really is to me how much of Turok you can see in this game just based on like the man, really? This just looks like some of the caves from the first Turok, I swear.
Oh, dude, that sucked ass.
Supposedly your mission is to save the town, and I guess at a certain point, according to like the magazine and the manual, like you're supposed to, oh, don't let them destroy the buildings or else the town will be doomed. So now we're in this dark cave. Though not as dark as some other N64 games, including some other first-person shooters by Acclaim that I've seen. That will be coming to shortly enough. So a good thing about snowballs, especially when you're fighting the turkeys, is you get unlimited ammo with the snowballs. Every weapon, I do like this about the game. I do like that every weapon has actually an alternate fire. So you see, this is the infamous yellow snowballs. So these are more effective, and I can't tell if that means that they have splash damage there. Those are also infinite ammo, but they take longer in between throws to throw. There's also, you got the toilet launcher. Oh, I guess there's 3 at a time. That's awesome. I like that. Ooh, it might mean that I can't get them back, though. Nope, I can get them back. Cool.
Cheap ass. Oh, yeah.
Cool.
I'm gonna show you how to kick ass. Sweet.
Alright, I'm going to take on this tank now, so I'm going to swap over to Piss Balls. When I posted this on Instagram to say that, like, yep, I'm on the South Park game now, it's not terrible. People were like, not terrible, there's piss balls in it. People love the yellow snowballs. They absolutely love the piss balls. So, there you go. But also remember that, like, people were around my age if they ever got to play this at the time. So, yeah, I believe it. That they thought the yellow snowballs was the greatest thing ever. I can understand it. And then the other one here is the dodgeballs. There's that one. You can also pick these up if you pick them up fast enough. And then there's also like the super dodgeball. It just goes faster, but I'm pretty sure you can't pick that one up because it just flies. If you can, it's very difficult. So we'll continue on through these oddly familiar caves. Like I haven't seen these a million times in the first Turok. Oh, I want to switch to snowballs. If I'm just one turkey right here. Alright. Swap to good dodgeball. Yeah. I'll take that motherfucker out real quick. Oh, and there's another one. Radar is surprisingly helpful. Yeah. Oh, there's a bunch of them. Come on. Fuck him up. Get the fuck out of my way. I want to not waste this. Cool. This one. Good. Any more? Oh, cool. And there's none, no minion ones floating around either. At the moment, at least. Cool. Just a fucking bunch of them. They really, since they only take out one health from you at a time, I pretty much don't mind just standing in and taking them, because the cheesy poofs so far in the early goings of this game have been plentiful enough. Oh, and I got a tank. Yeah, that's a regular throw of the dodgeball. You see it bounces around a little bit more.
Dude, sweet. Let me
But
out.
it's a little bit quicker.
Quit it, dildo.
There we go.
Hey, cut that out.
Yeah, fuck you. Pick up them plungers, though.
Out of my way, dum-dum. I'm gonna kick some butt.
So understandable, they're not about to give you a ton of toilet plunger ammo, just like throughout the game, but you can just pick it up, so.
Dude, sweet.
And they don't really disappear. So that's good. Reasonable design on some of these things, it's nice. Ooh, oh, it's a Nerf gun. What? Oh, okay. I'm like charging it. This one probably rapid fires it. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. I do quite like that. I like the alternate fire that you get on these. I just use fucking all of those at once. Of course.
Hey, it's my turn to kick their asses.
GT boofs. Yeah, see?
Out of my way, dum-dum. I'm gonna kick some butt.
Just keep defaulting back to snowballs. Although if this does get to be like Turok, there's going to be like an in-between. Oh, this is probably not the right one. Nope. This is where the enemy spawned out of. This way.
Stupid turkeys.
Sound does get kind of annoying. I've killed so many of these fucking things at this point. It's just an absolute genocide by the time you finish up the sponge dart ammo. Yay, Nerf gun. Yeah, it's fucking awful how many turkeys you've absolutely just straight up murdered by the end of. Yep, that it looks familiar too. I've climbed ladders in this game already. I already knew that was happening, but if you wanted the Turok comparisons to continue, holy fucking shit, right? Like just the animation, everything about that looked exactly like Turok. So that's I guess where you kind of get like you want to like the game a little bit less, but it kind of makes you like it a little bit more, or maybe the other way around depending on how you feel about Turok. It's like, oh, it's just a ripoff of Turok. Well, you could do a lot worse, I guess. Oh, look, the fucking gates that actually look like they were out of Turok. And the thing that's wild about that is that like we're trying to replicate South Park animation style, and Turok was going for a realistic look, and you still have all these things that like look similar. They fit they're in the right animation styles and everything. It's not like, oh, that's out of place because they just cut and pasted it. It's like weird that they just went for the similar design,
evil turkey.
even though they had to completely like redo it to make it look like it fit. It's crazy. But I think the one thing that really like has this game take a hit is that I think it feels rushed. It feels like there wasn't a lot to be able to get in there. It also feels like there wasn't a lot to go on when you're making a South Park game, because South Park was only what, a year? It only been out a year and a half at this point. Not even. Because I looked it up. This game came out in December 98. The show debuted in August 97. So just over a year. And so at what point do you start making the game? You make the game, you know, right after that show debuts, and you have like the entirety of season 1, and that's about it to go on. It's like, what the fuck do you have to actually like make a show into? It's like the early Simpsons games. It's like when they were making Simpsons games in 1990, 91. It's like, it's so weird to go back to them. You know, I'm not a South Park expert. I am, you know, for lack of a better word, I am a self-proclaimed Simpsons expert. I've seen every fucking episode of the first 12 seasons 1,000 fucking times. So I know the Simpsons, and I know that like if you go back to the Simpsons and you go back to those games, it's weird that there's nothing really from them to go on to put in the game. They're doing Bart versus the Space Mutants. That Space Mutants thing was like no longer a thing by like season 3, season 4. Same with the Happy Little Elf shit. They stopped using that trope. So you have a lot of shit that really just goes on South Park season 1 in here, which, like I said, I don't even know if I've really seen the entirety of South Park season 1. I've seen season 2. I've seen most of the like late 90s to early 2000s seasons at least once. I feel like I've seen, in the history of South Park, I've seen like 50% of the episodes at least once. If that gives you an idea as to like my familiarity with South Park, as opposed to, you know, what it would be for Futurama and The Simpsons and shit.
Out of my way, dum-dum.
Um,
God, evil turkey!
So yeah, I can't. It's weird because it's like I don't know the only real references that they have to make all that well, because they only have one season of show to go on, and it's not the season that I'm really all that familiar with. I've spent more time of my life watching basketball than I have watching, you know, I've probably spent about half as much time watching basketball as I have watching South Park as a whole. Which is to say, I've watched basketball 15 times at least since I saw it for the first time a couple years ago. And I watched Orgasmo once, so. Big Chicken? Not yet.
Dude, sweet!
So really, like, how big of a thing is the turkey thing in season 1? Is it just one episode? How big of a deal is that? That, like, that's the entirety of the first episode of the game. Because, like I said, they're like 4 missions to 1 episode, so they're like divided into chunks. So I think by the time I get to episode 2, I'm going to be fighting a different, like, style of enemy.
Stupid turkey!
It's very strange. It's actually funny to me, by the time I get to, like, Chef's Love Shack, it'll have more shit to go on as far as referencing the show that I'll know. But it will be so much worse of a game than in South Park Rally. They're so much worse of actual games.
Take that, peckerhead! Stupid turkey!
Interesting thing about the South Park game, actually, that I wanted to get brought up on Stop Skeletons from Fighting at some point, because it was worked on by a developer called Crawfish Interactive that they feature so heavily on that show,
Let me at him!
because they're amazing, because they did some wild stuff. But I want the South Park Game Boy Color game to get featured on Stop Skeletons from Fighting at some point. They made and basically finished, you can look it up on YouTube, because I thought it was really interesting. They made and finished an entire prototype for a South Park Game Boy Color game to get released alongside this, and Trey Parker and Matt Stone, I guess, decided that they would feel weird putting a South Park game out on a system that was so even more heavily played by kids than the N64 was, I guess. But it's completed. You can go watch somebody play it on YouTube, and it's funny because it's like a weird, it's like an Abe's Odyssey type of like puzzle, side-scrolling puzzle game. Really, really interesting. It would have been super interesting if they had tried to actually replicate the N64 game that they made, because it would have ended up being one of 2 prototypes to be a first-person shooter on the Game Boy Color, neither of which would have made it out. But it would have been a really ambitious project. That Crawfish Interactive is known for being ambitious. That's why they're always on punching weight. So I'm very interested in that. I'm almost more interested in that game, even though I like this genre better. I'm almost more interested in the Game Boy Color games because it's such a weird thing to exist. And an even more interesting thing of, like, they didn't even release it because Trey Parker and Matt Stone said they probably shouldn't release it. It was very interesting to me, so. I'm just sitting here wondering how much longer this level is, because I'm just basically doing the same thing, exploring caves and looking for more tanks and wondering if there's going to be a boss fight at the end of this part, or if it's going to be at the end of the next part, or if there's going to be... I think there is a boss fight. I think it says that.
Stupid turkey!
But I think what I was getting to, so there not being a lot of stuff to put in this game, from a show standpoint, because the show was so young by that point, it was still so new. They didn't have material. It's very strange. It's just a very strange game to me that, you know, put it out quickly to capitalize on this, you know, smash hit of a TV show. Yes, but it's just funny that there's nothing really to go on. But the holiday release date that I'm sure that they really wanted to go for, also I think contributes to a weird feeling that I have with this game, especially when you compare it to Turok. That there's just not a whole. The levels feel very empty. I think it's partially compounded by the animation style and everything, because it's just supposed to be very flat and not a lot of detail. But it's really weird to me that this game just feels like the levels are much bigger than they need to be. Like the amount of space. It's like, again, they would have probably rectified that if they had had time to. But there's all this empty, unfilled, unused space in between a lot of stuff. Like, just look at right here. I know I'm in caves and everything, but there's a lot longer in between, like, actual sections of gameplay than I think there should be. And I think that, like, it definitely gives off the feeling, I can't say this for sure, but it definitely gives off the feeling that, yes, you were, you know, let's grab these completed levels that we have for Turok to start with, and then we'll see what we can do with them while we're turning them into a South Park game. So put snow on top of everything. That's one thing. And then, yeah, and just take everything out, and then we'll refinish it. And then they just didn't have time to populate it or shrink it down if they had that choice too. I could be completely talking out of my ass here, but it's just something that I really notice about this game that definitely, like, really hurts it. It makes it feel like. It makes it feel empty. It makes it feel like, you know, I think that's why people don't really like this game, is because it feels monotonous, and it's only compounded by the fact that you just have to walk a long distance in between doing all this stuff. It's like, and again, I mean, the fact that, like I've said, I've literally only fought one type of enemy with two subtypes of enemies in that, and I'm in the 3rd level. I'm on my 4th weapon design, which is great. I really like the weapon design, but the enemy design needs to be more diverse if it's not going to be outright, you know, if it's just going to stay the same all these times. I forget where I was going with that, but you get my drift. It's, if the actual functions of the enemies aren't going to be that different, they at least need to have an outer design, I think. Oh, and by the way, no, there's no map like there would be in Turok. I tried. I also kept messing with the D-pad to see if you could just swap between different kids at will. I would have thought that would be something you'd want to do, but it's not. It's not a thing. Every direction on the D-pad actually just changes. I think it's every direction. They just change to the alternate fire on whatever weapon you have. This is a boss fight. Boss fight time. Cool. Just wondering real quick if I have to do anything specific. Oh, okay, there's a big target on his ass.
Let me at him.
Yeah.
Knock it off, asshole.
Oh.
Stupid turkey.
There we go.
Stuff you too.
Yeah, cool. Not a very precise hit detection, which is actually probably the way it should be.
Out of my way, dummy! I'm kicking some ass. Die, evil turkey!
Or do I have to... Okay, I do have to kind of hit him from behind, but...
I'll get you for that.
Oh, what the fuck? Even if I have the room for all of it, there's only one thing I can really put in here. Because it's South Park, of course. No, you fucking aren't. No, you fucking are not. All the way back to the beginning of the level, are you fucking serious? With 1 life? Wow, that's, horseshit. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's not okay with me. That is a big detriment to how I feel about this game. You're gonna kick someone back to the start of the level? I just spent 20 minutes walking around that level, walking down long ass hallways. Motherfuckers. Jeez. So is this also going to be like Turok, where the only way to actually have fun playing it by the time I get to, level 2, level 3 is going to be to use all the cheats? What the fuck? Wow. This book is also a complete clusterfuck of typos and mistakes, as I just noticed by opening up to the page for Officer Bar Brady. So not only is his name misspelled at the beginning by Bra Brady, it goes on, the only copper in town, Brad Rady, is so dumb, he makes the Simpsons Chief Wiggum look like Inspector Morse. I don't know who necessarily that is. Cool. So there's no more typos, but holy fuck. Brad Rady is so dumb he makes the Simpsons Chief Wiggum look like Inspector Morse. Good lord. Alright. Just real quick. Let's see if there's any cheats that'll send me back to that boss fight, or else we're going to have to end it here until I figure out how to get back to it without... Oh my god. 1 life. 1 life you're going to send somebody back to the beginning of the level. Are you fucking serious? I hate it. That's just too much. Cool. Level select cheat. Although I can't necessarily get back to that boss fight, can I? Because it's in the middle of the level. Create input device with this Cheesy Poofs decoder. There we go. The nope. Oh, holy shit. Wow. Oh, that's... Now you're starting to piss me off. Now I'm starting to see why people don't like you, South Park. Oh my god. That was on me. Earth. M-O-V... That's better. Level select. Cheats. Level select. Okay. That's not where I just do the thing. Start new game.
My mom always told me I was
I don't care.
cute.
But I have to press start apparently. I can't just hit A. Level select. Great. Yeah, so no matter way you do it, since that boss fight is not separate from everything else like it is in Turok, that's why I was thinking I could do it, was because Turok has the boss fight separate. Not like this though. So yeah, we'll just when I start playing this again, I'll jump to episode 1, stage 4. And depending on how shitty it is, next time you see me stream this, I might be using the invincibility cheese so that bullshit doesn't happen to me again. Yeah, even Turok has multiple lives. You have save spots. You have checkpoints and you have save spots, but not here apparently. That is frustrating. Alright, anyway, that's South Park. That's the first bit of South Park. Might get more interesting. There might be different enemies. There's going to be more weapons. That'll be cool. Cool. I'll see you next time for more of this. The best South Park on the 64. Completely by default. See ya.